Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting of the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 legislative session. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter, present. DeLong, present. De Silva, Edgeworth, Flanagan, here. Gallant, Golding, here. Gurr, here. Hunt, here. Jackson, Karras, Kasama,
here.
Wynn, here. Chair Constein.
And I am here. Thank you. Please mark Assembly members Gallant and De Silva present when they arrive. And I want to welcome the audience here in Carson City, in those joining by video in Las Vegas and over the internet. And I would like to begin with a few housekeeping measures. Please check and silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name and any affiliation for the record. Turn the microphone off when you are done speaking. If you are providing handouts, please ensure that hard copies are available for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to our committee manager by 9 a.m. yesterday. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. I encourage committee members to ask questions and engage with the material presented. If you have any follow-up questions, please flag them for me so we can ensure that we balance our time effectively during today's meetings. And committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not interpret that as a sign of disrespect or inattention. And with that, let's get started. Today, we will hear two bills. First, we will hear Assembly Bill 247, which revises provisions relating to persons with disabilities. We will then hear Assembly Bill 285, which establishes the Nevada State Service Corps within the Department of Administration. To ensure we get through everyone fairly and in a timely manner, we will set a 30-minute time limit for each period of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having 2 minutes. To ensure we allow as many people as possible to testify, feel free to say ditto if someone else has already covered your testimony. And I would like to now open the hearing on AB 247. To present this measure, we have Assembly Member Brown May and a co-presenter she will introduce. And please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Tracy Brown May. I am the Assembly member proudly representing Assembly District 42 in Clark County. We are honored to be here this morning to present this a measure for your consideration. Assembly Bill 247 makes important changes to improve the accessibility of our public meetings and ensure that people with disabilities have the appropriate accommodations to participate. You'll notice that we have a number of accessibility measures that are in play today as we continue to focus on accessibility and communication as part of the legislative body. We are here to champion that today. So I am joined today by Mr. Eric Wilcox, Chair of the Nevada Commission for Persons Who Are Deaf or Hard of Hearing. And we are together here to amplify the issue of accessibility and equity for members of our deaf and hard of hearing community. This is an issue that's personal to me. As many of you may know, I learned how to speak American Sign Language when I was 12. I was introduced to my favorite human on the planet. Her name was Dawn, and she had moved in next door, and I wanted to be her friend. The only way to do that was to learn how to speak the language that was natural to her, which was American Sign Language. So we continue to use that today. My husband wears hearing aids. He is hard of hearing, and although many husbands have selective hearing, I can tell you, his is also a diagnosis, and so we have a number of accessibility devices that we utilize in our family to make sure that we have communication. Our television is always on closed caption. I have found that it enhances even my understanding of what is happening. It's the only way that my husband can be sure of what's happening on the television. Well, we have an entire community of people in Nevada who are deaf or hard of hearing that rely on these types of accessibility features. They all have similar barriers of what we're experiencing. We have a number of folks that are with us in the audience in Las Vegas who are members of this community, alongside Eric and his family. If we could legislate the entire world, we would like for closed caption to be on every television set, everywhere. Every bar, every restaurant, every airport, every place you go that's public. It's a feature that's built in, and we just have to turn on. The ADA was passed more than 30 years ago, and still we don't have accessibility. And so that's why we're here today. Before we go through the sections of the bill, I would like to really formally introduce you to Mr. Wilcox and have him share a little bit about the background and why we're here.
Good morning, Chair Considine, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I am Eric Wilcox. I am the parent of a deaf child, and I'm chair of the Nevada Commission for Persons who are Deaf and Hard of Hearing. And I hope that I don't have selective hearing. I strive to not have selective hearing. And thank you, Assemblymember Brown-May, for introducing this bill and for providing me the opportunity to speak to it today. The bill addresses gaps in accessibility for deaf and hard of hearing individuals. It promotes American Sign Language development for youth in Nevada and takes the first step to bringing Nevada up to a better standard for education for deaf and hard of hearing children in this state. On provisioning interpreters and captions for public spaces and public meetings, the provisioning of American Sign Language interpreters and live captioning in public buildings and meetings allows deaf and hard of hearing individuals the increased opportunity to participate in society by providing access to auditory information for those individuals. These are essential accessibility tools for individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing. The provisioning of comprehensive and accurate interpreting and captioning is critical to removing barriers for the deaf and hard of hearing community to following and participating in public meetings and enjoying equal access in public spaces. Critically, we have documented at the Commission a lack of access to public health and safety announcements on mainstream media outlets, just as one example. Requiring that screens in public spaces have captions turned on ensures more comprehensive access to television and video content in public spaces, and is a simple accommodation that makes our spaces more equitable and accessible, as the Assembly member mentioned just a few minutes ago. Beyond the deaf and hard of hearing community, captioning also benefits individuals learning English as a second language, children developing literacy skills, and others in noisy and quiet environments where audio is inaccessible. Communication access, real-time translation, or CART services are a means of meeting the need for not just captions, but comprehensive and accurate captioning. While CART services can include computer-generated captions as defined currently in the NRS, anyone who's viewed computer-generated captions while watching live broadcasts on TV has experienced gaps and inaccuracies that frequently occur in the captioning of such broadcasts. For this reason, the Deaf Commission always uses and advocates for the use of live real-time captioning by an experienced human CART provider. As that result is superior to the existing computer-generating captioning systems. Regarding the provision for new buildings, I just wanted to speak briefly to how we handle public meetings at the Commission. If you attend a meeting of the Nevada Commission for Persons who are Deaf and Hard of Hearing, you will see that our meetings provide both a team of ASL interpreters and live captioning from a CART service. For live meetings in public spaces, this requires us to have a video display system, a computer, and an internet connection. If the meeting includes visual elements such as PowerPoint presentations, then there must be sufficient video screens to accommodate both the visual aids as well as the captions. Often the CART provider is remote and listening to the meeting via phone or through virtual meeting software. In such cases, amplification must be sufficient not only to accommodate all of the participants in the room, but also to be heard by the CART provider. These are provisions that should be thought of when preparing a space for a public meeting that is fully accessible. Regarding the development of ASL and its inclusion as a foreign or world language course in schools, there are few opportunities to learn American Sign Language in this state. I know that personally. Developing standards for teaching ASL in public schools and supporting districts in providing ASL instruction will increase the opportunities for ASL language development for deaf and hard of hearing kids and their siblings. Furthermore, increasing opportunities for kids in the hearing population to learn ASL will help support a pipeline in the state for interpreters and teachers of the deaf, for which there is a profound shortage in the state. We have found, at least anecdotally, that hearing students that are drawn to ASL as a language out of curiosity when it's offered in public schools, some of those students gain a passion for the language and to learning about deaf culture and ASL. In recent years, Nevada State University and UNR have made strides to establish and sustain training opportunities for new ASL interpreters. Exposure to deaf culture and language in public schools has led to demand for more advanced training programs at our colleges and universities. All of these outcomes can contribute to increasing access for deaf kids to instruction in their primary or preferred language. Finally, on the matter of an interim study on a school for the deaf, as many as 40 or more states have a school for the deaf. Nevada does not, and is behind the times in that manner. In fact, in my opinion, Nevada is struggling to provide a comprehensive and fully accessible education for all deaf and hard of hearing kids in the state. While you can find a few experienced educators working with deaf kids in the urban districts, there's little expertise in the rural districts and no expertise in deaf education in the administrative ranks of either the school districts or the Department of Education. In our town hall events, we have documented stories from across the state of deaf and hard of hearing kids routinely denied proper accommodations in the classroom and thereby not receiving proper access to classroom content and campus social opportunities afforded to them under federal law. Advancing a school for the deaf in Nevada would begin to correct this disservice and create a focal point for expertise in deaf education in Nevada. A school for the deaf, even if it cannot directly serve every deaf or hard of hearing child because of the broad geography of Nevada, can serve as a model for deaf and hard of hearing curriculum for the rest of the state, and thus can catalyze a community of practice for deaf and hard of hearing education, which is sorely needed in this state. For example, just to give one example of a gap, IDEA, that's the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the federal law requires that schools support the development of ASL language ability for children for whom ASL is their primary language, as well as providing that for their families. Schools in Nevada are, for the most part, not meeting this obligation because of a lack of knowledge and resources. A school for the deaf, by creating a focal point for advancement of expertise and resources for educating the deaf and hard of hearing, can help the state better meet needs like this, as well as other educational gaps present in Nevada's schools. And with that, I'll turn it back to the Assembly member.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. At this point, we'd like to walk through the bill with you. You should have an amendment on your desk that we're considering a friendly amendment, was proposed last evening, and just further clarifies for us the language that is necessary to ensure that we have accessible spaces. Under Section 1, the last sentence says, including without limitation, providing at public meetings. And then A is in person or through electronic means, a qualified interpreter is defined by the Americans with Disabilities Act. And then B, communication access to real-time translation. We would also note the sentence before that, public officers and employees responsible for these meetings shall make reasonable efforts to assist and accommodate persons with physical disabilities desiring to attend those meetings. So I want to be really clear that what we are trying to do is solidify the Americans with Disabilities Act. When a person makes a request for an accommodation, that we in government are doing everything that we can to help them have access. So we are not suggesting that a sign language interpreter should be at every public meeting always, but a sign language interpreter should be available upon request from a person who would like that as an accommodation. And then we would further recommend that video also be included. So technology could also be a solution to that. And so as we walk through this bill, I had a number of conversations with
Assembly member, if I can just stop you for a second. I don't think we received the amendment,
Okay,
so I don't know if
So can I-
there are any
if you don't-
copies, or if we could get some copies.
certainly. My apologies.
Oh, no worries.
Sorry,
Just wanted-
Tracy Brown made for the record, again. Sorry.
No worries, just didn't want you
Thank
to
you.
keep going until we get that copy so we can follow along
Okay, so
with
there,
you.
thank you. Tracy Brown made for the record, thank you for that. So there is the amendment coming your way. It further just clarifies Section 1, which adds some flexibility into that language. Section 2 requires any public building designed on or after July 1, owned by a public body, and which a public meeting would be held according to open meeting law, to include any equipment and software necessary for communication access, real-time translation. For any of you who are using an electronic device in this building, you will notice when you pass through a certain area of the building, your phone signal will drop, right? I have experienced that. The way some of our buildings have traditionally been constructed as cement, when it's like concrete, when it's so thick, your cell signal does not go through. So there are areas of the building that are not Wi-Fi enabled. So we would like to recommend that every building in the future have access to Wi-Fi accessibility so that you can utilize accessibility devices throughout those buildings. And then those buildings be equipped to be able to handle real live translation in CART. That's what we're suggesting. It's already in federal law for accessibility features. Section 3 includes American Sign Language as a foreign language or a world language, which the council to establish academic standards for public schools is required to establish standards for content and performance. This will allow public schools in the state to offer American Sign Language courses and have it be part of the curriculum. And then Section 4 requires Nevada's Department of Education to conduct a study during this 25-26 interim to determine the need for a school for pupils who are deaf or hard of hearing. And that's what we're asking for. So it's a 3-part bill. And with that, we are happy to stand for questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And we do have a question from Vice Chair Nguyen.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here this afternoon. This morning. Okay, my caffeine has not kicked in yet. So it's really cool to hear this presentation. And I just want to share that out loud, is because, I'm an immigrant, and English is not my first language, and I still watch TV to this day with closed caption on. And actually, even though my kids were born here in the U.S., they also watches TV with caption on, and that's a good way for them to pick up the vocabulary and learning the visual part. So I understand this amazing learning tools. I'm kind of curious because, English is not my first language. It's so cool to see on the screen right now the 3 different languages, closed captioning in English, Spanish, and Tagalog. How does that work for folks who are coming into the U.S., not having English as their native language, and when do they start learning English, and they still want to be able to see or learn in their native language as well? How does this, bill going to help those who speak more than one language in learning the ability to do both?
Thank you. Tracy Brown May for the record. Thank you for the question, Vice Chair Nguyen. I think it's a great question, and most people who are not familiar with American Sign Language just think it's a version of English, which it is not. American Sign Language is a completely different language that is nuanced like every other foreign language, right? And so I think the more that we can bring awareness to the number of languages that are available in our community, I think we all benefit by that. What we're seeing today on the screen is something that the Legislative Council Bureau's team has been working diligently on, and it's wonderful. I can also see that we probably need to make the fonts bigger still, right? And maybe slow it down a little bit, because even I have difficulty knowing which language is mine, right? So I applaud your efforts to have closed caption on your television. We do as well, as I stated, in our home, and I think it's just a great opportunity for lots of folks to learn. I do know that there are a number of televisions now in particular that are defaulting to other languages, right? And so that helps people. If you are listening to a television show in English, you can turn on closed caption in a foreign language. And so I think it just helps to build bridges. I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Assemblymember Brown-May. This was an excellent presentation. Really neat. Oh, wow, my name is up there. That's super cool. As we move into a space where a lot of our public meetings are offered and people do it virtually, like on Zoom or some other platform, how does this transfer into that space where if you don't have TV or you are a limited income household, but you have an electronic device, is there some support in like Zoom space that this would work to, to assist?
Tracy Brown-May for the record. Thank you for that question. There is indeed. I learned over the course of the interim, and even with Teams, there is a feature that you can turn on that will close caption meetings for you. So that's true in my Zoom calls. It's true in my Teams meetings. We have an app, as I stated, on my phone called Ava, although I'm not advocating for Ava, which is a communication piece on my phone that I can put in the dinner table in a restaurant next to a person that I want to understand, and the phone will live transcribe the conversation. And so there are a lot of accessibility features that are just built into this. You may hear another bill later this session, which is a right to repair for accessibility devices to continue this conversation to that technology level.
Our next question is from Assemblymember Gurr.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. Great presentation. I understand the need for it. My wife has tried to find a class to take while she's down here being bored to tears in ASL, but has had difficulty finding when she'd get into in the time frame. So I get part of the problem. But my question is, does AB 247 create unfunded mandates for local governments?
Thank you, Tracy Brown-May, for the record. Thank you so much for that question. It was a possible because we weren't really sure how the bill was going to come out of legal and drafting. I will tell you, at this point, it does not have a fiscal impact. I've met with the Clark County, I met with NACO, which is where the amendment came from, that further clarified that a person would need to request the sign language interpreter prior to the meeting. So you're asking for a reasonable accommodation, which we do now. And it was not mandatory. So by adding in additional video or technology features to be able to supply that, right? So those are all features that exist currently in buildings. The only possibility that would create a mandate would not be with regard to the sign language interpreters or CART translation, because all of that's an existing law. It would be, how does the Department of Education handle a study for the deaf school, which has been attempted a couple of different times. There is a large population of folks who are deaf or hard of hearing that they would like to learn in a segregated environment because it helps culturally to develop competencies, and there is no data to support that. So that could be the only piece at this point, and we haven't had that conversation with Department of Ed yet.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. This is amazing. Thank you for showing instead of just telling. Can you explain a little bit about how this is happening? Is there, you explained earlier that instead of an automated transcription service, is there a live person that's doing this transcription in addition to the sign language interpreter? And where are these people? Are they accessible to our rural counties?
Thank you, Tracy Brown-May, for the record. I don't know that I can answer the technical questions. We'll do our very best, and Mr. Wilcox may have something to add as he does this on the regular. But I will tell you, this is happening by our Legislative Council Bureau staff. They work diligently with your chair, vice chair, and set up for this committee to make sure that we had live transcriptioning available, which is CART, right? So real live transcriptions. It's probably a member of the LCB staff that's working really hard right now to do this, so that we can continue to do this. We have worked diligently over the course of the interim with our Legislative Council Bureau team, and I want to be really clear and shout them out. We have, as part of our state employ, 2 new staff members that came on board over the course of the biennium, or the interim, that are focused on accessibility, disability access to all of our spaces. And they have worked with the members of our community, and they've worked with members of our body to make sure that our offices are accessible, our communications are accessible. All of our PDF documents that get uploaded are readable by people who are using visual readers, right? And sometimes we still have flub ups and not everything is perfect, but there have been a number of measures that the Legislative Council Bureau team has taken on to make sure that we are improving accessibility for all people in our community. The sign language interpreters are located down in Las Vegas currently today. We were not able to get a sign language interpreter live here in Carson City. So to Assemblyman Gurr's statement, right, we just didn't have that available here, which is disappointing. Because we have technology, we're able to respond to that in kind on the television screens. So anyone who requires sign language, American Sign Language, right, has access to it on our television screen live as it's happening. You'll notice our sign language interpreters never leave the screen, which is an important component. They're not replaced by the CART translation. So some people read the language, that's their accessibility. Some people speak American Sign Language, that's their accessibility feature. And then to just see what's going on in the meeting is the third, right? So we have people in Las Vegas that are live signing currently. You see the small in the corner, you can see him in the corner of the screen, as well as the box on the screen. So shout out to Legislative Council Bureau staff.
So this service, the remote interpreters, would be available in our rural counties. We don't have to physically have interpreters in our frontier areas in order to provide this level of accessibility. Is that correct?
Tracy Brown, right for the record, that is correct. And as a member of this body, if you are having a meeting with a constituent, there is a line item in our budget that allows you to hire a sign language interpreter for the meeting that you have scheduled with your constituent. You're welcome.
Our next question is from Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assemblymember Brownway, for bringing this bill. It's just amazing. You know, as you know, I teach at Rancho High School. It's one of the hubs for our DHH students in Southern Nevada, in the state, really. So I know this issue very well, and I'm very honored to be working with those students. So if somebody was interested in pursuing, a job or a career, as a CART interpreter, what's the education process like, and what's the certification process like, so they could serve, as a CART instructor? Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblyman De Silva, for the question. Eric Wilcox for the record. I don't know that I can answer the question about CART transcription. I can for ASL interpreting, so you do have to first take a course of ASL classes to learn the language. And then there is an advanced series of courses which focus specifically on the cultural and more complex and more nuanced elements of the language, and gaining that cultural competency, which is very important. And then there's a rating process for interpreters. So you take a test, a standardized test, and get a rating. There are standards in the code in Nevada for certain ratings in order to work as a educational interpreter or as a community interpreter. There's specializations in legal interpreting, medical interpreting, which would require additional training. And then there is a requirement also to register with the Nevada Registry for Interpreters for the Deaf, which is administered by the Aging and Disability Services Division.
Thank you. Committee members, do we have any other questions? So my questions were answered, but you also, Mr. Wilcox, mentioned being able to sign up on a registry through the Aging and Disability. Is there a website or something that we could share with folks so if they are interested in signing up, they know how to get there?
Yeah, Eric Wilcox for the record. Thank you, Assemblymember Considine, for the question. There is a website for the registry. It is, I think I don't know it offhand, but if you Google NVRID, that's or Nevada Registry for Interpreters for the Deaf, there is, I presume, comprehensive information there the process.
Thank you so much. Just wanted to get that on the record, so if anyone hears this and is interested in the future. And since we don't have any more questions from the committee, I want to thank you for your presentation, and we would like to move on to testimony. Testimony can be provided here in Carson City via video conference in Las Vegas or over the phone, and further instructions for providing testimony on a bill can be found on the agenda. We will be maintaining a 30-minute time limit for the periods of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having 2 minutes. We will begin testimony in support here in Carson City. So if you would like to testify in support of AB 247, please make your way to the table. And you may begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Alexander Marks, M-A-R-K-S, with the Nevada State Education Association, the voice of Nevada educators for over 125 years. AB 247 is a critical step towards ensuring transparency, accessibility, and equity in Nevada's public institutions, values that educators and our union deeply uphold. We support accessibility, transparency, and equity in Nevada's public institutions, especially our schools, which are for everyone. Passing AB 247 is a necessary investment in fairness, inclusion, and public trust, ensuring all Nevadans, regardless of ability, background, or identity, can fully participate in civic life and education. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Carson City wishing to testify in support? Please step up to the table. Go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chairs and members of the committee. Apologize, this is totally not prepared at all. And I just ran over from across the street trying to watch this hearing. But my name is Dawson Deal, first name D-A-W-S-O-N, last name D-E-A-L. I'm a senior at the University of Nevada, Reno, and I randomly had a course requirement for a foreign language and decided that I was kind of tired of taking Spanish in high school, and so I wanted to try out ASL. And the amount of information I learned, not only about the language, but the culture, was incredibly fascinating. I took 5 semesters worth of the language, as well as a deaf culture course, and I think this education to those who may not be familiar with the deaf culture and deaf individuals, geez, my apologies, is really invaluable. So I really do appreciate this bill and any efforts to increase awareness of the culture and the language across the state. However, I would like to mention as a point of information, I was watching this on YouTube, the stream, and I was not able to see either the captions or the ASL interpreting online. And I think that would, of course, be an incredible addition to increase accessibility across the state. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Seeing no one else in Carson City approach, we will move to Las Vegas. If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 247, you can approach the table and begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair and member of the committee. My name is Eli Schwartz. I am a member of the Nevada Commission for the Person who are deaf, and I'm also speaking as myself. I would like to give a shout out to Assemblywoman Tracy Brown May for working along with us to get this bill on the table. All I wanted to do is give you, let me be fair, I would appreciate if you would expand the terminology of public accommodation that will include places like hotel, inn, motel, restaurant, cafeteria, public restroom, if there's a TV, elevators, and entertainment, regardless whether it's a ticket or payment venue, bowling alley, retail establishment, transportation, barbershop, beauty shop, etc. I had the pleasure of going to see a show on Friday night that was catered to the deaf community, and they had a closed caption. And I will tell you, it really made my enjoyment of the show much, much, much greater than it would have been. So I just would appreciate if you would just expand that definition of public accommodation. Thank you.
And if you would, in Las Vegas, you can come up and fill up the seats at the table. You don't have to wait for one person at a time. And please go ahead when you're ready.
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Shelley Freed, F-R-E-E-D, and I'm here to support AB 247. Having to do specifically with the issue of closed captioning, again, I want to reiterate what Eli Schwartz said, but again, the experience that we face when we go to a public area, regardless of the federal law, we need some teeth in that law from the state. For example, I went to Desert Radiology a couple of days ago, and they had 3 televisions in the room. None of them had captioning on. I had to go to the desk, and I had to stand in line and write a note and say, could you turn on the closed captioning? And they had to call the office manager, and nobody knew what to do. And for 30 minutes, no captions turned on. Why do I have to do that kind of behavior? Why do I have to use up my time for equality when it is not provided here? I feel that it is very autistic, a lot of autism, and I have to make all my effort to get the closed captioning turned on, and that should not happen. Thank you. Also, I do want to comment about the deaf schools. I'm a retired principal for the California School for the Deaf in Riverside, and education, I'm heartbroken for deaf and hard of hearing children in Nevada. Clearly, it is a humongous need. Thirdly, having to do with ASL. Yes, I totally support what's in the bill. If you have ASL in high schools, it will be a great feature for future college and university students to have better quality interpreter services for the state of Nevada, not only just to be an interpreter, but a teacher, a public servant, various careers where sign language could be included and would be so greatly appreciated by the deaf community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we hear any additional support testimony, I would just like to reiterate support, opposition, and neutral, and the meanings of those. So typically, support means that you support the bill as it is or with the amendment. If you have any additional suggestions or changes to the bill, that would not technically be considered support, that would be considered opposition. So even if you support the bill, but you wanted to add something, that would be opposition testimony. And not support testimony. We have the folks who have already testified. We will keep those as they are, but going forward, if you are testifying in support of the bill, that means you accept the bill as it is, and with any amendments. If you have any additional suggestions or ideas that would, to change the bill, that would technically be opposition. So with that, in Las Vegas, if we can continue with support testimony. If anyone is in support, please step up to the table. Seeing no one, AVH, we will move to the phone lines for testimony in support of AB 247. Oh, hold on. AVH, if we can go to the phone lines, I will then come back to finish the support in Las Vegas.
Thank you. To testify in support of Assembly Bill 247, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair and members of this committee. My name is Catherine Nielsen. I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Governor's Council on Developmental Disabilities. We echo many of the comments in support here today and are excited to see this bill come up in front of you all. Language access is a huge part of getting information for this community, and we offer support to help ensure that that interim study takes place as well, because we know how successful this will be for this community, and we are excited to see the bill sponsor bring this forward. Thank you all for your time.
Hello, Chair Considine and members of the committee. My name is Kevin Osorio Hernandez. That's Osoriohernandez. I am the president of the student body at Nevada State University. And in fact, we do have a deaf studies program, one of, I think, only two in the state. Both UNR and Nevada State University offer this. And I think this is a great opportunity for our students to stay in state and continue serving their state in this way. Thank you.
Hola, good morning, Chair and Vice Chair, members of the committee. This is Dora Martinez. And thank you so much, Assembly Member Tracy Brown May and Mr. Wilcox, for bringing forward this important bill. It's really important because when it comes to safety, it's important to always know where the door to leave to when there's a fire or something happens. ASL should be provided for all. And I thank you, Ms. Assemblywoman Tracy Brown May. You know, nothing about us without us, and you bring that to the table, and we appreciate your time. Thank you. Please support this bill. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you, AVH. We will go back to Las Vegas for testimony in support of AB 247. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hello, I am Lee Bullock. I want to thank you for your time in addressing this bill. There was just a comment from Shelley Freed that I couldn't echo enough of what she said about this bill. And I ask you to please consider this bill, and I am in definite support of this bill, and ask that you are the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of AB 247? Seeing no one approach, we will move to opposition testimony. If there's anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition to AB 247, please step to the table. Seeing no one in Carson City, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 247? Seeing no one, moving to the table in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to testify on this bill?
To testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 247, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will now move on to testimony in neutral. If there's anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on AB 247, please begin when you're ready.
Good morning. I am Amy Hines Sutherland, HYNE-SUTHERLAND, and I am the Health and Human Services Manager for the Nevada Association of Counties, or NACO. NACO represents all 17 counties. First, Madam Chair, I want to apologize for not sending the amendment. We agreed on it late in the day yesterday, first time submitting, so thank you for your patience with my learning that process. So first, I'd like to thank Assemblymember Brown May for considering our amendment, which aligns this bill with the qualified interpreter language from the Americans with Disabilities Act. And it also specifies that electronic access is an option. That's a very important provision for rural parts of our state, including in our urban counties that have rural areas. We need that electronic provision to be there in order to increase access to this service. With this amendment, we believe it will help our members comply and provide additional access to this population of Nevadans. We also want to thank the sponsor for supporting our request to specify that these services be available upon request by the community member. This will also allow for our public bodies to arranged for those services to be provided. And I just want to specify, too, that NACO's members support equal access to public meetings for all Nevadans, and we want to thank the sponsor for this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on AB 247? Seeing no one approach, we move to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 247? Seeing no one. Oh. Thank you. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Hello, my name is Sean Mulholland. I am the president of the Las Vegas Deaf Senior Citizens. If you remember, we wanted to add the requirement of closed captioning because of the deaf, hard of hearing, and don't forget our senior citizens who have their hearing deteriorating when they're in their 70s, their 80s, and beyond. With the captioning, they can enjoy television and so forth. As an example, I went to South Point Casino for the Super Bowl party. Been doing it for 17 years straight. The manager there and I have a great relationship. I said I wanted to add closed captioning for the Super Bowl, and he said no. I said, why? He said a lot of people don't want the captioning. It interferes with the TV screen and the visibility of it. So I felt he wasn't meeting the law and the requirements of the law. So I'm hoping the passage of this will then, by showing federal law and state law, require public places to turn on their closed captioning. For example, if hearing people go into a venue and they turn off the sound, for example, everybody gets lost because they don't understand what's being said. Well, if you turn off the closed captioning, that's how deaf people feel. They can't understand what's being said. So just to give you an idea of what it feels like to experience that. I hope that you all continue your strong support of AB 247, and I thank you very much.
Go ahead when you're ready.
All right. Hi, my name is Paula Kerwitz. I'm a volunteer with the state of Nevada for accessibility. I want to talk about equality. I feel like we are not in an equal status, that we have to do a lot to get there. I want to see equality become the norm. We can all have peace of mind and enjoy our lives and give the deaf community some value. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral on AB 247? And this is for testimony in neutral on AB 247. Please go ahead.
Hi, good morning. I'm Justin Hoyt, and I'm a member of the Las Vegas Deaf Senior Citizens. 8 or 9 years ago in Green Valley, I went with some friends and we were watching captioning on the television. We were so excited to watch the football game, and a couple people in wheelchairs next to us and all that. And then the manager came over all of a sudden and said, no, you can't be here. You have to leave. This is a VIP section only. Well, the reason why we were there was because it had captioning. And they said, sorry, you got to go. You're not VIPs. And so we were so frustrated because there was no captioning anywhere else. And we lost our access, and it was full of people, so we just left. I was very upset about that. I just wanted to give you that as an example.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral on the bill? Seeing no one, AVH, we will go to the phones. Is there anyone on the phones wishing to testify in neutral on AB 247?
To testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 247, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide testimony in neutral at this time.
Thank you. If the presenter would like to come up to make any final remarks, please begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Tracy Brown May for the record. I would like to offer my sincere gratitude for hearing this bill today. As you can hear, we have a lot of work still left to do to bring real equity into our community of members who are deaf or hard of hearing. As I stated in the very beginning of the presentation, if we could legislate in this bill every television set to have closed caption on all of the time, we would do that. That's not what this bill is intended to do. The 3 provisions that we discussed is our focus currently this session. Should there be another session in my future, we will continue to work on these communication issues because it is just so important that we all have a generalized understanding. So thank you for your time and attention today.
Thank you for the bill and the presentation. I will now close the hearing on AB 247. And I will now open the hearing on AB 285, which establishes the Nevada State Service Corps within the Department of Administration. To present this measure, we have Assemblymember Mosca. Please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, amazing Committee of Government Affairs. Great to see you again. Today, I will be presenting Assembly Bill 285. I will talk about the why. This is something that is also close to my heart when I think about Gen Zs as well as working with young people. You may know this, but they are really looking for careers that are purposeful. I'm going to go over an example of what a different state does. There are 5 states that have something like this, so I'll share one example with you today, and then I'll talk about the Nevada context of, again, we know we don't have the resources compared to a state like Maryland, but what maybe could we do here in the state of Nevada? And then I'll end with the goal and the amendment review and what we're trying to do with the bill. And so as you know, my 3 pillars, this one goes under the higher education and workforce attainment pillar. And I don't call this a problem. I more call this one an opportunity. I think it gives us a chance to figure out how we can continue to fill our state vacancy rates and attract talented Nevada State higher education graduates to see state service as something that's awesome. Like, why are they not applying to work for our state with the amazing different offices we have, opportunities, and that they could live throughout the state? So I'm trying to make an argument that we could make an opportunity that shows our NC graduates they should want to work for the state of Nevada. And so a solution is to create a state service corps to get them excited to be part of government. And so first I'm going to talk about some context. So nationally, there are some polls that really say young people are interested in some type of service, and 86% of Gen Zs, according to a Deloitte survey, said they do want something with a sense of purpose. So again, 5 states have something similar to what I'm going to be talking about. And if I think of service, you can think of things like the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps. I did teach for America. When I graduated from Boston University, I wanted to help young people who grew up similar to myself, and that's how I ended up in East Las Vegas, because that's where I got placed, and I was a teacher for 2 years. And so really thinking about a service-minded approach. And then a great question could be, well, what do we currently have in Nevada anyways? So locally, what we have is the State Service Commission. So that exists within Nevada. It is ran by a nonprofit called Nevada Volunteers, and it is the AmeriCorps program of the state. And so currently they have 100 sites and over 1,700 members. This is a picture of in the interim where I did a listening session with some current AmeriCorps members here at the city of Las Vegas. So thank you to them for hosting me. And I was able to ask them, why did you want to join AmeriCorps? What did you like about it? And I was also able to ask them, why didn't you apply for the state? And it's really interesting hearing from folks who don't ever think about, if I majored in criminal justice, why don't I apply at NDOC? Why don't I see that as somewhere? So it seems like they just aren't aware that maybe the state is a place where they can use their skills and have a great job with a salary and benefits. And so that's local context, well, national, local. And then here's an actual example. So what am I talking about, right? So in Maryland, there is something called the Maryland Core, and it's a / service year option. This was made by Governor Wes Moore. This is actually one of his most important policies, that he says. And this is very different than what I'm proposing, but I think it's important to kind of hear an example. So in Maryland, what they're saying is a lot of high school graduates want a gap year. They want a year that before they pursue higher education or trade school or go directly into the workforce, they may want to work somewhere for a year. So again, this is a high school student. And what Maryland has done is said, we've created this whole program where Maryland high school graduates can apply for the Maryland Core, and they'll work somewhere for 1 year with at least $15 an hour, because again, they're high school students, and they will get a $6,000 completion award, which is an AmeriCorps award, which is federal funding. In that 1 year of their service corps, they also are paired with either an apprenticeship program, a nonprofit, a business, or a government agency that is their mentorship and professional development. So in Maryland, it's 1 year, it's high school graduates, it's you get an award, you make a salary, but then you get professional development. We know in Nevada that would probably be very difficult because of our revenue. So what we were trying to think is what's another potential thing that we can do here? So here were the two things I was thinking about. One, our vacancy rates. And here I really have to shout out our legislature from last session that approved the COLAs, and our governor, if you saw the latest article of the vacancy rates, and I know Director Robb has worked really hard on this, that the vacancy rates are now at 13%. But we still have vacancy rates across different agencies that are either higher or lower. So for example, I just ran from the Ways and Means Health and Human Services subcommittee that I chair, and one of the items we're hearing today, they have a 27% vacancy rate in one office, but they have a less than 10% vacancy rate in a different one, right? So it's different across different roles. And I thank the Department of Administration for getting me this data. This is what I thought, just working with our amazing state employees who help us in so many ways. But it is true that a majority of folks who work for our state are in the 30 to 69, a lot compared to the 20 to 29, about 2,000 classified employees. So I was thinking about, okay, in our state, we have vacancy rates. We don't have a lot of Gen Z folks or younger folks working in our state. How can we help get that? And then so when I think about NSHE graduates, this comes from all of my regular work outside of the legislature. Even last night, I was on the phone with a young person at 8 o'clock at night helping her with her resume. There are so many students that graduate from our system of higher education that I think does a great job. And again, I want to acknowledge the Department of Administration, who does do some work with NSHE. They share, they have done one, they told me they did a job fair, they share, opportunities, but I think it could be even more, that we could amplify it. So I think qualitatively what I've seen with the lots and lots of young people that I work with, they don't think about the state as somewhere they want to work. They don't understand how to apply because it's kind of a convoluted process. And they also don't know what to expect. So when I talk about you get actually a full-time salary with benefits, you don't have to just live in Carson City. That's another question. They say, I don't want to work for the state. I don't want to go to Carson City. And I tell them there are a lot of jobs in Las Vegas or throughout the rurals where they can actually live. So I think helping NSHE graduates understand the state could be an awesome place to work. And for NSHE, because I had another bill yesterday in education, I know they're continuing to work on this, but when I asked them, okay, do you have like an 80% placement rate? What is the placement rate of students who graduate from NSHE and get a job within the first year? They actually can't track that right now because of certain data. So I think that this also helps with that, so we can show the ROI of our higher education institutions. So when I thought of vacancy rates, NSHE graduates, I came up with the Nevada State Service Corps. And so now I will go over the bill review. I also want to acknowledge that, again, the purpose of the bill was to create a program, get excited, and get NSHE graduates recognized for coming to work in the state. So not just come work for the state, but let's call them, because they're special, they're part of a service corps. They decided to join this. And knowing what we're looking like for our budget and really understanding if I may want to get this policy passed this session, I may have to think a little differently about what I'm proposing. So what the amendment has is really kind of a scale back in that we would like, if this committee thinks it's a good idea, is to have a pilot. So more of a pilot than a full program, because again, we're trying to save some fiscal money here. And so here are a couple things that I think are important. One, I know it mentions entry a lot, and we know we can't direct entry because we don't have direct purview over them, but I really didn't mean it for it to be the regents, because the regents, I think, is actually a lot of maybe bureaucracy that maybe get lost in the mix. I had really wanted it to be directly with the chancellor's office. So the chancellor's office does have a workforce development office. So to me, that makes more sense. Like maybe our state and the Department of Administration, and you may ask, why the Department of Administration? That's actually our HR for the state. So maybe our HR for the state should work with the workforce development office in the chancellor's office, and they should collaborate. Number two, well, it's really the third bullet. It says temporary a lot in the bill. That actually wasn't always it wasn't the purpose. The temporary part to me was the designation, like you're special because maybe the first year or the first 2 years you are part of the state service corps, but they shouldn't have temporary work. I mean, they should, because they're college graduates, different than the Maryland one, they should get a regular job in the state, but we call them the State Service Corps designation, which I could see that as temporary, but not the actual job, if that makes sense. And part of it is hard because we want to match participants, we want to provide mentorship, but I understand that would be very difficult for the Department of Administration without a lot of money. And so what is in the bill already is that second bullet is it said may, that the Legislative Commission may appoint a legislative advisor. I want to change that to shall, so it's required, so that the legislative advisor is actually the person who is doing all of the recognition for the State Service Corps, if that makes sense. And so I'll go back one thing. So we do have the Nevada Youth Legislature, for example, which is a program within the state that has a budget line item, and there are some of us that are on the board. So I'm on the board of the Youth Legislature. And part of the Youth Legislature is sometimes we as legislators do things like host events for the Youth legislators to say, thank you for all your work and recognize them. So I was kind of thinking about this is that we could have one legislator who is then assigned to this State Service Corps, and they're the ones who are doing the recognition for the State Service Corps members so that the Department of Administration doesn't have more work that they have to do, if that makes sense. So really, all I'm trying to say is this is less of a new program, because I think if we have a new program, it's not going to go anywhere, to be very honest, but it's more of a recruitment strategy. How can we direct the Department of Administration to work with NSHE and then have a legislator who is doing the recognition, and hopefully by having a foundation and having a pilot, someday, maybe when this body has more money, we could fund it in a way because it's already started, because it's a pilot program. So with that, I'm happy to take any and all questions.
Thank you for the presentation. We have a question from Vice Chair Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Assemblymember Mosca, for this. This is a really great idea on recruitment and, adding more talent to our state. I'm just kind of curious. I know that this original intent is for the partnership with the higher education system, but my curiosity is in terms of recruitment, and our state is very diverse. We have folks on the maybe vocational schools and trades schools that might be, of service to our state. And I'm thinking, for example, someone that had maybe, 20 years cosmetology license, right? They didn't go to college, and they could go and work for the cosmetology board because they have that experience, right, in the industry. And also for new Americans who, immigrated to the United States, they may have a doctorate degree in their native former country. Now they're here in the U.S. Obviously, they, sometimes their education is not transferable, but at the same time, they're not going to go back to school for higher ed. So in terms of maybe not just working with NSHE, like the reason that you stated with the complexity of that system, but also having maybe a second partner, if you will, on this part, just so that for folks who don't go through the traditional path of high school straight to higher ed. Maybe they're going to do a little bit of a detour, that they still have the opportunity to do so, and perhaps there could be more well-rounded pool of candidates for our state.
Erica Bosco for the record. Thank you, Vice Chair Nguyen. I think that's a great idea, and that really makes me think of, at least within the state, we have the Post-Secondary Commission, which covers all of the trade schools, and then we also have the Office of New Americans. So maybe I could talk to those two offices, but yes, I am committed to following up on that. There's already an amendment, so I like that idea. I think that is smart because it's inclusive, because the purpose of the bill is also to help with diversity, not just diversity, but age diversity, different folks to come work for our state. So I think that just adds. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Committee members, do we have any other questions? Assemblymember Karras.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Good presentation. I just want a little more in-depth on where you're going with this. Let me tell you what I'm thinking you presented, and then you correct me, okay? Because my question is going to be, basically, you're starting this program, and is it temporary, or is the actual purpose to incorporate these people fresh from higher education into state work like forever? That's my question.
Yes, that's a very good question, because that's where it can get confusing. Like Teach for America is a 2-year service program. Eric Moss for the record. Thank you, Vice Chair Nguyen. Teach for America, for example, is a 2-year program, but if I actually taught 3 years total, even though Teach for America was 2 years, it's like a 70% rate of folks stay in the classroom. So you still are a CCSD teacher because you are employed by the district, but the program aspect was temporary, the 2 years. So for me, even though it wasn't written this way, it was always the purpose that they would get a regular job, in our state government, but the recognition part would be temporary, whether it's a year or 2 years. I think I'm still working with the Department of Administration to see what they think. So the job is a full-time regular job. The recognition is temporary. And then if they didn't want to stay in state government, that's fine too. But we hope that they do and that they actually enjoy it with us.
Thank you. That's a great way to keep talent in our state. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Our next question is from Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Assemblymember Mosca, for again bringing these innovative bills that are really trying to tackle some big issues our state is faced with in very creative manners. So just a quick question for clarity. So what's the age range that you're trying to target here? Are these going to be young adults who are immediately post high school graduation, or are we looking at teenagers? Are we looking at folks who are adolescents? What's kind of the in your focus? What's the range that you're looking at here through means of targeting through this bill? Thank you.
Erica Masso for the record. Thank you so much, Assembly Member. I'm going to answer that in 2 parts. This version is the college graduate, which we know in NCHE, it's like a high percentage of folks are non-traditional. So they may be the Gen Z age, the more traditional 22, 23, but they may be older. So that's fine too. We don't want to limit that. So this one is really that entry graduate regardless of age, but thanks to Assemblymember Nguyen, but also thinking about could we expand it to trade schools and other items, so I'll keep that. I would say when I had the original idea, I had a big idea, right? I wanted to do a state service corps. We're hiring lots and lots of people, and then we'd have a 2-year service program, and we'd hope they'd stay in the state for college grads. But then I also wanted to do like Maryland. I was thinking we could do a gap year for high school graduates. Maybe they could get AmeriCorps awards, and then before they go on to higher education, at least they've served the state for a year, and they know about state government. But, for me, I'm always going to be pragmatic in that you can have big ideas, but knowing the budget situation, just the situation we have in Nevada, to me, even though I would say this is a watered down version, this is to me a watered down version of what I think can not only hopefully pass, but actually be implemented in a way that makes a difference, and that someday we hopefully can expand upon it because we at least started with a foundational level.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Assemblymember Mosca, for this presentation. You mentioned in your presentation that there's a certain percentage of vacancies at the state level. So is your vision that the state coordinator, whoever that person is, would identify the openings and a percentage of those openings would be earmarked to partner with NCHE or other, whatever, schools within the system to basically fill a percentage of the openings, and then the remaining would just be open to the general public to apply for? I'm kind of wondering how they identify so many departments, divisions, whatever. You see where I'm going? Okay.
Assemblymember or Erica Mosca for the record. Thank you, Assemblymember Flanagan. That's a very good question, because I think when we first started, because I've talked to them several times, I think that what you just said was more what I was thinking, because there are things like the Climate Corps that passed last session where that is the case, where they designate or they make it easier to get through the process. In speaking to them and understanding the process more, right now this bill is less of that. It's more just, because I'm going to keep in the bill that they can decide how many they want. So let's say they think they can handle 10 with it fiscally neutral, then they can decide. I don't think it's not that there are specific roles. It's just, hey, we know already, here's where our vacancies are, and now I'm getting resumes of someone who majored in this. Let me let them know they can apply. Because I think that's the issue, is we're not letting students, as many students as I think we're doing some, but not everyone, know, hey, you majored in this. Hey, guess what? In HHS, we have this role available. And then it's more of a connection point versus them at the front of the line.
Thank you. We can maybe talk a little bit more offline. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the second. Thank you.
Erica Moss for the record. Happy to.
Thank you. I'm seeing no other questions from the committee. Thank you so much for your presentation. We will move on to testimony. Again, testimony on AB 285 can be provided in person here in Carson City, via video conference in Las Vegas, or over the phone. Further instructions for providing testimony can be found on the agenda. We will begin in testimony in support of AB 285 here in Carson City. So please go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Alejandro Rodriguez, Nevada System of Higher Education. NCHE supports 285. We'd like to thank Assemblymember Mosca for bringing this forward. We definitely support the opportunities for all of our institutions' graduates to gain the necessary skills to be part of the critical Nevada state workforce. So thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Anthony Curry, and I'm here to testify in support of AB 285 because it promotes public service and will importantly help young people find direction and give back to their community. In my early 20s, I joined the Navy and served for more than 10 years. During that time, I spent 6 years as a recruiter charged with finding people to serve our country. One of the primary things I learned during that time is that young people feel extreme pride when they are able to find career direction and see the fruits of their labor improve the lives of those around them. AB 285 lays the foundation for a civilian path for college graduates to experience the same sense of pride while giving back to our great state. For these reasons, I fully support AB 285.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Paul Morack with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber is also in support of AB 285, and we appreciate the bill's sponsor bringing the bill forward. As you know, the Chamber is in support of leadership developments throughout our community and through our foundation efforts as well in Southern Nevada. We also believe that this bill could become a pipeline for future employees for the state of Nevada and help close out those vacancies we have. Thank you very much.
Hello, Chair and members of the Assembly of Government Affairs. My name is Nate Young, N-A-T-E, young as an opposite of old. On behalf of the University of Nevada, Reno, we want to let you know that we are in support of this bill. As a higher education institution in Nevada, we are proud to support this bill. This is a great way to give our students jobs and leadership roles back in our community. And this is a great way to train our future leaders. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Assemblymember Mosca, for proposing this bill.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Henry Rosas, External Affairs Manager with United Way of Southern Nevada. Really honored to stand in support of this bill. United Way has funded so many workforce development programs in our region, but also wanted to share and provide the nonprofit perspective and the positive reverberations that this bill also has too. So often we face, as nonprofits, challenges with applying and working with state grants, often because of the critical shortages in our state government. And so having a strong strong pipeline of young people and future leaders who can fill those gaps is going to be really critical to ensuring not just the state government works as effectively as it can, but also the nonprofit sector and other partners of the state. So I wanted to provide that perspective and just thank the sponsors so much for always creating innovative solutions to the problems that we face. So thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Randy Robison. Last name is Robison. I think I'm going to try to wear 3 hats today. First, I'm a commissioner on Nevada Volunteers, which is the state commission on national volunteer service. We're the commission that administers the AmeriCorps program that Assemblymember Mosca spoke about. I'm also Director of Government Affairs for the City of Las Vegas. We have several AmeriCorps members that work in a number of our programs out in the community that provide a whole range of services to residents, particularly in the K-12 space. I'm also on the Institutional Advisory Council for the College of Southern Nevada. And of course, the College of Southern Nevada, one of its principles is workforce development for our community. And maybe I'll throw in a fourth one, which is as a father of 5 with hopefully 5 future employees who don't realize it yet, but they are my retirement plan, so I need them to have some good jobs. But let me just quickly say that as we've worked with AmeriCorps members, generally younger folks, they get an education award that helps them with their education, but they go and serve our community in a whole variety of ways across the state, rural, urban, north, south, everywhere. We have an awards ceremony every year called the Points of Lights Award, where individuals can nominate folks that they know for these awards. I would highly encourage you to come to one of those events. We receive a couple of hundred nominations a year. We're only able to award about 2 dozen. But to hear the stories of what these folks are doing in the community is phenomenal. It's heartwarming. It'll renew your faith in all good things. But what is incredibly gratifying to see is when someone volunteers and they find something they're passionate about. And as that old saying goes, once you find something you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. That happens with young people. It happens with older folks. It happens with university age. And that's what this kind of a program has the opportunity to do. Hey, maybe they get involved in state service and we need those good people and they find they love it. Maybe they find they don't, and that's valuable too. But this is something that will help. Thank you very much.
2 minutes, thank you. Is there anyone else here in Crescent City wishing to testify in support of AB 285? Seeing no one approach, we move to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support of AB 285? Seeing no one, we will move to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in support of AB 285?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 285, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 297. You are unmuted on our end. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Zanny Marsh. I am the Executive Director of Nevada Volunteers, and we are the State Service Commission and Fiscal Administrator for the AmeriCorps program. I'd like to thank Assemblymember Mosca for bringing this bill forward, and to also add my support as someone who is responsible for administering the federal funds that support members as they serve in the field. I can tell you that the impact stories will trickle for generations. We are transforming the way Nevada looks, the way Nevada serves, and the way that we are able to impact the workforce currently and the future workforce as we strive for talent capture and for knowledge capture and to find a vibrant future for members who serve. It is an exciting time. This is an exciting bill. I just would like to provide my full support for the opportunity to develop this program and then to see what the future holds for Nevada. Thank you very much. Oh, and I should have spelled my name. Z as in zebra, A-N-N-Y. Last name is Marsh, M-A-R-S-H. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager, Director of the Sierra Club Toyabe chapter. I'm happy to support this bill this morning. You know, we rely on state employees to be stewards and protectors of our special places across the state of Nevada and our special critters as well. And we support creative ways to incentivize young folks to become stewards of our special places and special things across the state, and recruitment mechanisms to get folks excited about conservation and get folks excited about protecting the places that we all love and care about. And so thank you for the bill sponsor for bringing it forward, and thank you all for listening to me this morning.
Hello, Chair Considine and members of the committee. My name is Kevin Osorio Hernandez. That's O-S-O-R-I-O-H-E-R-N-A-N-D-E-Z. I'm here today to express my strong support for AB 285. As an upcoming graduate of Nevada State University, I know firsthand the desire for so many of the students that I serve as the president to give back to the community to help shape us. This bill would create meaningful pathways for college graduates across Nevada and strengthening workforce, supporting community needs, and keeping young talent in our state. I will also share with you that just yesterday I received my acceptance into Teach for America as well. And so there, the need to serve is palpable, right? And so I think that AB 285 is an investment in Nevada's future, and it empowers students to transition into working for our state. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. My name is Kennedy Taylor, spelled Kennedy-Taylor for the record, and I serve as the Director of Government Affairs for the Associated Students of the University of Nevada. Firstly, we would like to thank Assemblymember Mosca for bringing this piece forward. We express our strong support for AB 285 as career development consistently remains a top 5 priority for UNR students. According to the ASUN 2023 Issues and Priority Needs Assessment, 41% of our students identified career development as a major concern, ranking second only to financial issues. We believe that by AB 245 supporting Nevada to keep highly educated workers and our graduates to have opportunities post-grad, it further helps transition young adults from classrooms to public service. Through full-time enrollment and mentoring opportunities, AB 245 ensures NC graduates are equipped with real-world experience that carries over into their career paths. By supporting full-time employment opportunities within our state government, ASUN urges the committee to support this legislation and provide recent graduates with resources vital to a successful kickstart to their careers. Thank you, and go Pack.
Hi, I'm Casey Reynolds at CASEY-REYNOLDS, State Policy Manager at America's Service Commissions, or ASC. ASC represents the 52 governor-appointed state service commissions around the U.S., including Nevada Volunteers. We're here to support AB 285 and to provide a bit of a national perspective. State leaders across the country are increasingly seeking creative ways to keep young people, young talent in their state, and to connect those young people to state workforce needs. Doing a service year is an ideal solution. Service has a unique way of connecting young people to their community or state at a pivotal time in their lives when they are making critical decisions about their life direction. A year of service can provide young adults with professional experience and training to enable them to fill state workforce needs. I know this firsthand as I began my career out of college by doing 2 years of service as an AmeriCorps Vista, working in a small rural city. Recognizing this value, 5 other states have created broad-based service year programs, including your neighboring state of Utah, who did so just last year. And in fact, Governor Cox has made service years a cornerstone of his administration. Many other states, including Colorado, Wisconsin, West Virginia, Iowa, and many others, are passing incentives to attract and retain service members in their state and building credentialing, apprenticeships, and other workforce development benefits into service years themselves. The National Governors Association and National Conference of State Legislators also have created service to career initiatives. We would be happy to provide their offices with more information on this work around the country. This idea was very much the impetus for SB 87, which passed right there in Nevada 2 years ago. The bill allows service members to bypass competitive hiring to fill state jobs under certain circumstances. We had asked to believe Nevada can continue to be a leader in using service for both addressing the challenges of your communities and to meet state workforce needs. We urge you to pass AB 285.
Chair, we have no additional callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move on to opposition to testimony for AB 285. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide opposition testimony to AB 285? Seeing no one approach, is there anyone in Las Vegas who wishes to provide opposition testimony to AB 285? Seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to provide opposition testimony to Assembly Bill 285?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. We will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on Assembly Bill 285? Seeing no one, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 285? Seeing no one, AVH, is there anyone on the lines wishing to provide neutral testimony on Assembly Bill 285?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers to testify in neutral at this time.
Okay, thank you. If the presenter would like to make any final remarks, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee. I really appreciate you. I hadn't seen Randy in the audience, so I want to thank both Randy, Zany, and Casey, who's helped with this throughout the time, and just thank everybody who came in support, and I look forward, if anyone wants to, Erica Mosser for the record, apologies, and just want to thank everyone, and if anyone wants to talk about it or co-sponsor, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will close the hearing on AB 285. That will bring us to our last item on our agenda, public comment. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. Instructions for providing public comment can be found on the agenda. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 810-797-1655, and then press pound when prompted for a participant ID. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide testimony. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide public comment today? Seeing no one, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to provide public comment today? Seeing no one, AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines for public comment?
To provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. The next meeting for the Government Affairs Committee will be Thursday, March 13th at 8 a.m. here in room 4100. That concludes our meeting for today. The meeting is adjourned.